You know those huge brands we see every single day? The ones we can't live without? Well, have you ever really stopped and thought about how they actually make all that stuff? Turns out there's this kind of secret world behind it all, a key to their success that we're gonna crack wide open.
Okay, let's just jump right in with a big one. That iPhone you're probably holding right now, or that's sitting on your desk. Who really made it? I mean, for real. The answer? Well, it's a lot more interesting than you might think.
Right, so we've all seen this part of the story a million times. It's literally printed on the box, right? Designed by Apple in California. We picture these genius designers in Cupertino obsessing over every little detail, and that's true. But that's only half the picture.
Because here's the other half. The actual nuts and bolts, the physical assembly of the thing, that's done by a completely different company. A giant like Foxconn in these enormous factories in places like China or India. And this whole split, this separation of design and making, that's the key. And it actually has a name.
Yep, this whole strategy is called contract manufacturing. And honestly, it's the answer to that mystery of how so many of the products we love actually get made.
So, what is it exactly? Well, at its heart, it's a pretty straightforward deal. You've got a brand owner, think Apple, think Nike, and they hire a totally separate company, the manufacturer, to actually make the products for them. This is huge because it lets the brand do what it does best, design and marketing, while someone else handles all the heavy lifting of production.
And you know what's so cool about this is how simple the core idea is. You can really boil it down to this one powerful line. The brand is basically saying to the manufacturer, you make it for me, I sell it as mine. That just perfectly nails the entire relationship, doesn't it?
Okay, so how does this whole thing work in the real world? Like from start to finish? Well, there's actually a pretty clear blueprint that takes a product from just an idea in someone's head all the way to sitting on a store shelf.
First up, obviously, the brand designs the product. Then comes a really big decision. They've got to find and pick the perfect manufacturing partner. Once they get a super detailed contract signed, boom, production kicks off. But here's the part that's absolutely crucial: quality control. The brand has to check everything to make sure the final product is up to their standards. Only then does the stuff get delivered, and the brand takes over for that final lap, marketing and selling the product under its own famous name.
But wait a second. This all raises a pretty big question, right? Why go through all this hassle? Why not just build your own factories? And the answer is, this is a massive, massive strategic decision. It's a real high-stakes game of trade-offs, balancing some amazing rewards against some pretty serious risks.
All right, let's talk about the good stuff first, the rewards. I mean, the upsides here are huge. For starters, a company saves a ton of money, maybe even billions, by not having to build its own factories. But you know what the real game changer is? Focus. It lets the brand pour every ounce of its energy into what it's truly great at: amazing design, killer branding, and super smart marketing.
Okay, but it's not all smooth sailing. There are definitely risks. The brand gives up a lot of direct control over how things are made, and that could lead to quality problems if you're not super careful. There's also the risk that your secret designs, your intellectual property, could get leaked. And as we've all seen lately, if your one and only manufacturer is halfway across the world, you're super vulnerable to any kind of supply chain chaos.
This table just lays out the trade-off perfectly. Look, with contract manufacturing, your upfront investment is low, you're super flexible, but you have very little control. Now flip that. If you go in-house, it's the total opposite. You get full control, but it costs a fortune and everything moves way slower. It really shows you what a tough call this is for a company.
So, what's the verdict? Is this the ultimate win-win strategy? Well, the classic answer is, it depends. The real trick is knowing when it's the right call to make.
Let's make this practical. Say you were starting a business tomorrow. When would this strategy actually be the smart move for you? Well, there are some really clear moments when this just makes total sense. It's pretty much a no-brainer for a startup that doesn't have a ton of cash. It's also a great move if you're not really sure what the demand for your product is going to be, or if you're trying to break into a new country. Pretty much any time building your own factory is just too expensive, too risky, or you just don't have the know-how, this is an incredibly powerful tool to have in your back pocket.
And that really brings us to the final, and maybe the most important point of all. In the way the world works today, the biggest question a company has to answer isn't just what to make, it's who they can trust to actually make it. It's about finding a partner to bring that big idea to life. And that partnership built on way more than just a piece of paper, that's the real secret behind the brands we know and love.